And now it's time for another Dice Tower review with Mike Vincent.
Hello, Michael Vincent here. Thank you for watching the Dice Tower. Now, we're only a few weeks away from Halloween, and so I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to look at one of my favorite horror-themed games, and that game is Last Night on Earth. You'll notice I'm wearing my Night of the Living Dead shirt. I'm a big fan of the classic George A. Romero zombie films, and I feel like Last Night on Earth does a fantastic job of capturing the zombie theme of a George A. Romero film. And so if you like zombies and you're not burnt out on the zombie theme yet, yes, there's been a lot of zombie games, a lot of zombie movies, and certainly in the board game realm, a lot of zombie games. But I feel that this is a good one, and if you like that theme and you're looking for a spooky game to play for Halloween, I would highly recommend you check out Last Night on Earth. So let's take a look at the game. Alright, so here is the box for both the Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, and the expansion Growing Hunger. Now, I'm going to look at both of these games together, but keep in mind the Growing Hunger doesn't really change the core gameplay mechanics. It does add more scenarios, more players, more cards, and a few rule variants to keep the game interesting, but the core game itself isn't going to change much, so I think it won't be too confusing to look at the Growing Hunger with the original Last Night on Earth core set. So Last Night on Earth is a game by Flying Frog Productions. It was designed by Jason C. Hill, and if you've played other games by Flying Frog, you sort of know what you're in for. You know there's going to be a very strong sense of theme, you know there's going to be a very high production value, and you also know that their sort of classic look of using cinematography, almost real looking characters, will be pervasive throughout. So let's take a look at the board. So here you can see the board for Last Night on Earth, and in Last Night on Earth you have two teams. You can have up to 2 players controlling the zombies and up to 4 players comparing a group of heroes who, depending on the scenario, have to accomplish certain objectives with zombies constantly getting in their way, trying to eat their brains, and yet somehow the characters have to either escape from town, perhaps they have to burn out some of the zombie pits, or they might have to defend a mansion from oncoming hordes of zombies. And so each time you play, there's going to be a different scenario. The characters are going to work together, and depending if you have 1 or 2 players playing as the zombies, they're going to be working to try and foil the heroes and stop them at every turn. So before the game starts, each player will be randomly dealt a different character card, and each character card has a corresponding miniature that goes along with it to play during the game. So when you're given your character, you'll notice that they have their name, they have a picture, it says what type of character they are, in this case law enforcement, their starting position up here in the corner, and each character has a set of special rules. So the sheriff starts with the game with a revolver, and he's also considered a man of action, so instead of searching, he can automatically go and take a revolver from a building. Now, these circles at the bottom represent the amount of wounds that character can take, so hardy characters can be bitten a few times, whereas some of the weaker teenage characters can only take 1 or 2 bites before they turn into the living dead. So we notice a lot of the characters in this game are your very archetypal types of characters that you would expect to see in your classic horror film or in a George A. Romero zombie film. So we have the friendly neighborhood sheriff, Sheriff Anderson. We see the holy man, Father Joseph, who can use spiritual abilities against the zombies. We have Becky the nurse, who has some healing abilities. Amanda the prom queen, who is beautiful, and it says any male hero in the same space may roll an extra fight dice, so you know she's using her womanly charms to help other male characters. And Jake Cartwright the drifter, Rochelle the detective, and so on. So here we see Kenny, the supermarket bag boy. So one of the very distinctive features about Flying Frog games is they like to use almost a cinematic look for their graphics. So you'll notice with all these character cards, it looks like they've taken actors and taken photos of them and inserted them into the game, and they don't use a more traditional art style where they have an artist draw something in a different style and put it in the game. So I really like this because I feel like it gives the game a more cinematic feel, and you do almost feel like you're playing through a zombie movie. So in my opinion, when you're trying to capture that theme of a zombie film, this art style really works in favor of the game. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a scenario-based game. So before you start playing, you're going to decide which scenario it is you're going to play through. So there's a variety of scenarios. Die Zombies Die, which you're just trying to kill zombies. Escape in the Truck, where you have to search the town for gas and for keys, and then escape to the middle of the town, jump in the truck, and drive away. defend the manor house, where the players are holed up in a mansion in the center of the board, and they have to fight off waves of zombies as they try to break in. And then there's other ones. We see zombie apocalypse. We have to burn them out, where you have to burn down buildings where there are zombie pits, and saving the townsfolk, plague carriers, and burn it to the ground. So there's lots of different scenarios, and I like this because it gives the game a lot more replay value. And depending on the scenario, you're going to have the sun track. So for example, if you're playing Burn It to the Ground, it says here it takes 17 turns. So you're going to start by putting the sun track on 17, and each turn after the zombies go and the heroes go, this will tick down, and eventually once it gets down to 1, the heroes will then have one final turn to try and defeat the zombies, and if they don't, it's over and the zombies win. So you're probably already able to see how there's a lot of replay value built into this game. There's different heroes you can play as, there's different scenarios, and even the board itself changes from game to game. So these tiles that go around the outside and the perimeter, there's a variety of different tiles, and at the beginning you randomly choose which 4 you want to use. Each tile has a variety of buildings, and each building has different special pickups you can get. So if you're playing in the drugstore, you get to pick up any first aid card, but if you are in the grocery store, you get to discard the top 3 hero cards to draw 2 hero cards. So there's lots of different special abilities for all the different buildings. And so you randomly choose 4 of these. So even if you're playing the same scenario twice, the buildings are going to change, the map's going to be different, and certain buildings might give you different advantages. Okay, so let's quickly go over the zombie turn. So there's 6 phases for the zombie turn. First of all, you have to move the sun marker. So you're going to move that track down 1 spot. You get to draw new zombie cards. So each turn, you're drawing new zombie cards off the zombie deck. You'll have a hand of cards, and each one of these cards will give you a different ability. Now, we'll take a look at those in a second. Now, you're going to roll to spawn new zombies. So you're going to roll 2 dice, and you have to roll higher than the number of zombies you have on the board. So if you currently have 7 zombies on the board, you have to roll higher than a 7 in order to spawn new zombies. So then you get to move your zombies, and all your zombies are the classic Romero slow-moving zombies. So these zombies will get to move 1 spot each turn. So on my given turn, if I have 3 zombies, they each get to move 1 space. So I might move this guy over 1, this guy over 1, and this guy over 1, or if I wanted, I could move them all to the same spot. Now, zombies can move diagonally, and the one advantage to zombies as well is that they can move through walls. So whereas characters have to go in and out of the doors, zombies, if they want, can climb right through the doors, which gives them an advantage and does make them a little bit more mobile. You'll notice these X's on the board as well. So these X's represent zombie spawning pits, and the zombies will start on these spawning pits. So each turn, we notice after you fight heroes, you get to place newly spawned zombies, and you have to evenly distribute these zombies among all the zombies pits on the board. So if you have 4 new zombies you get to play, you couldn't decide to take all 4 zombies and put them on 1 spawning pit. But instead, if there was 4 spawning pits, I would have to put 1 here and the others on the other ones. So we'll look as well at the zombie deck, and you get a variety of zombie cards each turn, which will give you advantages that you can play each turn. So here we see Shamble. This is going to move your zombies even faster, so you can roll D6 spaces as opposed to the 1 spot that they always get to move. Bickering, so this is going to force 2 characters on the same spot to bicker and argue back and forth, therefore giving up a turn. Last Night on Earth also has a sense of humor. This card titled "This Could Be Our Last Night on Earth" is if you have a male and a female character in the same spot, it's implied they don't get to move because they're too busy smooching. Lights Out, which will allow you to place a special token on a building so that players have to stop moving when they enter it. Or a card like "My God, They've Taken the ... and this means that a building will be taken over. You'll put a zombie spawning pit into this building, and you get to place a zombie on each space inside that building. So there you can see there's many advantages that the zombie player can have if they play their cards correctly. Now the cards as well have that distinct flying frog cinematic look, and I would warn that this game is for mature audiences. Certainly some of these cards are a little bit gory, and this is meant for adults, and I would not recommend giving this game to kids. Okay, so now let's take a look at the hero turn. So when the heroes get to play, depending on how many players there are, the characters do get to choose which order they're going to go in. So it's not that the heroes always have to play every turn in the same order, but whatever the players feel needs to be done first can take priority depending on the different characters on the board. So just trying to get this to focus up here. Right, so here are the different actions you can do each turn if you're playing the heroes. So first you're going to have a move action, and you have two options. You can either roll the dice and try to move, or you can search in a building. So for example, if we're looking at Sam here, the diner cook, so if I rolled a 5, I could move him 5 spaces, but he'd have to go through the door. So I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and go over here. Or after I roll, if I don't like what I rolled, let's say I got a 2 and didn't feel I could do much in 2 spaces, I can choose to search the building. So when I search the building, I can take the top hero card off the top of the hero deck. And if it's an item or something, I can use it. Or in this case, it's an event. So I could play this whenever I wanted to. Or certain buildings have special pickups. So the building we're looking at here is the police station. And so if you want to use a special pickup action, it says here the pump shotgun. So I could go through the deck and take out the pump shotgun if that's what I wanted to use. So there's lots of different hero cards. Some of them are regular items. So we see some quest items like keys if you want to start the truck, a flashlight if a building has lights out, ammunition for your guns, gasoline, first aid kits. So there's regular items you can use. Now, it wouldn't be a zombie game without lots of weapons and ways to destroy zombies. So we have dynamite, pump shotgun, which I just mentioned, a meat cleaver, pretty nasty, a revolver, circular saw, fire axe, pitchfork, lots of inventive ways to take out zombies. And also, what can come in quite handy, there's different characters from town that have different special abilities. So Doc Brody can fully hear any hero, Lizzie the shopkeeper, Farmer Sty. And so these different heroes will help you, and certain cards need to be used on different scenarios. For example, if you're trying to escape the town, you need to find gasoline to gas up the truck, and then you need to take your keys and try and escape. So that's the move action. Then we can exchange items. So if our two heroes here are on the same square, they can swap perhaps the keys for the shotgun or a revolver for a flashlight, etc. Then they have an option to shoot a ranged weapon. So if one of these guys has the pump shotgun, he could roll to try and kill the zombies around him. And finally, the fourth stage is fighting zombies. So let's say one of our characters here moves and is on the same square at the end of his turn as this zombie. He will have to fight that zombie. Now when fighting zombies, the hero has an advantage in that they get to roll 2 dice, but the zombie only gets to roll 1. So they're going to roll, let's say in this case, we're talking about Kenny. So he rolls a 1 and a 2, but the zombie rolls a 4. So in this case, the zombie would bite him. Now the zombie always wins on ties, but if a zombie bites a character, then they have to put a wound token on the wound card. So he would take 1 wound, and if he got bit again, a second wound would potentially turn him into a zombie hero. So a zombie hero, we see the night track. Now it does turn to day right around turn 13. So if a hero is killed when the sundial is in the darker area up top, that is automatically going to turn a killed hero into a zombie hero. But if a player is playing with multiple heroes, let's say one player is playing with Sam and Kenny, and let's say Sam's died, and then Kenny dies as last hero, he would also be turned into a zombie hero. So that means the zombie player gets to take this card. This zombie hero is going to move a little bit faster, and he will have multiple hit points, unlike most zombies which only have 1 hit point. Now it is possible without weapons for heroes to kill a zombie if they roll doubles. So let's say I roll a 4, and let's change this dice to 6. So because Kenny rolled 2 6s and scored doubles, that would kill this zombie and remove it from the board. So I really love the scenarios in this game. I think they're a lot of fun, and there's a lot of variety, and they really give you that feeling of being in a zombie film. So just an example from a game I played the other day, we were playing a scenario where the heroes had to get gasoline, they had to find keys, and then they had to get to the truck, get in the middle, and escape. So there was a scenario where 3 of the heroes had done a pretty good job of killing off the zombies near the truck. They had the gasoline and the car was ready to go. But this last hero, who we can see here in the gym, had the keys, and I was able, as the heroes, to roll a taken over token. So this swarmed this building with zombies, and I was able to kill this character. So here we are, the heroes are ready to escape the town. They think they're on the verge of winning, and the zombies are able to turn it around. I killed the hero, he dropped the keys, and then the heroes were not able to escape. So they had to then disperse, run back to other buildings, and had to continue to look for more keys. So there's a lot of these really cool back and forth moments where even if it seems like the zombies are winning or maybe the heroes are winning, the zombie cards or the hero cards can turn things around and make for a pretty tense back and forth game. I also find that the game is very well balanced. There's been plenty of games where the zombies have won, but also plenty of games where the heroes have won. So I haven't really noticed that either the characters or the heroes, the heroes or the zombies have any significant advantage over the other. All the games are really tense, really back and forth. And I find the game is pretty streamlined and pretty simple. All the new people I've played this game with, they always have a really good time. It's easy to learn. And because it's cooperative in that the heroes are working together, it's very easy for an experienced player to help coach a new player, and they'll quickly learn the ropes. The other nice thing about this is that with the cooperation, it doesn't really have that element where one person can really dominate, because each hero has their own card, they have their own items, their own weapons, and so they're rolling dice, they're killing zombies, they're searching buildings, and it's not like some games where one player can really dominate. Now, just a quick note, you'll see there's two different types of zombies. There's orange and there's green. Now, functionally, these zombies are the same. It just means if you're playing with 6 players, you're going to have 4 players, each controlling one hero, and then you'll have 2 players playing as the zombies. So the orange zombies are going to be controlled by one zombie player, and the green zombies are going to be controlled by the other zombie player. So it's really nice in that it accommodates 6 players. One downside, I suppose, for this game is that you might not have one person who wants to play as the zombies. It's sort of like Descent, where you have one person sort of being the dungeon master. So in this case, it is really fun to play as the heroes, and as long as you have someone in your group who's happy to play the zombies, then you're good to go. So there's one last set of components I just want to quickly talk about. One really cool thing that Flying Frog Games has done in this case is included some extra little cardboard cutouts that don't belong to any scenario but allow you to create your own scenarios. So if you really dig this game, you've played through all the scenarios and you want to expand it and you're the creative type, well, here we see a meteor, we see some green slime, we see some sort of table with some looks like sacrificial stuff going on, we see a tractor. And so if you really like this game, there's room to be creative and create your own scenarios. I really like that Flying Frog had done this, as I've even tried my hand at making a certain scenario, and it was actually pretty fun. Another thing you'll notice of Flying Frog Games is they like to include soundtracks. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of this soundtrack, but I would recommend you give it a shot. And at the end, when I'm summarizing some of the components, I'll play a little sample for you just so you get a flavor for what it's like. So I'd certainly recommend you try the soundtrack the first time you play it. It's really nice that they included it. And if you don't dig the soundtrack, well, perhaps you can use the soundtracks from some of your favorite horror movies. I really like the 28 Days Later soundtrack. Or if you like a group like Midnight Syndicate, they have good background music for horror-style games. Okay, so I didn't go over every single element and rule of the game, but hopefully after watching that video, you have a pretty good sense of how the game runs. I like that the game is very smooth. The gameplay goes pretty quickly. There's not too much time on one person's turn. Both the zombie turn and the hero turns go by pretty quickly, and I find most games go about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But it could go faster than that if everyone in your group has played it and you're all focused on the game. So to conclude, I love this game. I'm a huge horror fan. As you can see, I'm also a big fan of zombie films and George A. Romero zombie films, and so I feel like this game does a really good job of capturing that theme and making it feel like a cinematic experience. Now, I totally understand if you're burnt out on zombies. There's been so many zombie movies. We have the Walking Dead comics, the Walking Dead TV show, Resident Evil. We're up to Resident Evil 6 already, and I know there's been lots of other zombie board games that have come out. So if you already have some good zombie games in your collection, you might want to consider taking a pass on this one. But if you love the zombie theme, if you like the team-based element where you have some players cooperating against another player, or if you're just looking for a spooky game to play this Halloween and you are a fan of zombies, I do think this is a very good game and a worthy addition to any horror enthusiast game collection. So thank you very much for watching. I will put my Twitter and email at the bottom if you have any questions. There are 2 more expansions for this game, Timber Peak and the Blood Forest, and so I might be able to take a look at those at some point and let you know what I think. So thank you very much for watching. Happy Halloween.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.